Who are the top 5 names that the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking at? And who are the top 5 trades that could go down before tomorrow at 4 p.m. and bring somebody to Pittsburgh? Because we both expect somebody to be in. It's hard. If there was a boost, a random bet on DraftKings today that you could go, will the Pittsburgh Steelers make a wide receiver trade? I don't care what those odds are. You're clicking yes, and you're going to hit. You're going to hit. These are my top 5 names that are out there. Every single one of them outside of one was just mentioned in my list above. And we'll start with the one who was not, and that is Mike Williams of the New York Jets. I don't think Mike Williams moves the needle for the Steelers at all, but I do think he's available. And I do think that even if the Jets won a game against the Houston Texans, who might not be that good this year for some reason, the sophomore slump for CJ Stroud, I have no idea, but Mike Williams is on there. I look at Mike Williams as a guy that from time to time will make a play, but that's it. He is not that much better than Van Jefferson, where we currently sit. And I mean, it really does move the needle, but it adds another option. And the Steelers right now don't even have options. So you might as well add somebody, because if you're going to plan on spending the rest of the season with George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, and Scotty Miller as your only 4 wide receivers, I just don't think that that's the right idea. At least you add Mike Williams there, and you just add another bunch of misfit toys, or another name to the land of misfit toys, and say maybe he comes up with a play at some point, a big moment, and we could keep it going. Mike Williams is number 5. Again, not splashy, but a name, and a name that the Steelers are obviously interested. Number 2 didn't play this weekend, and the Carolina Panthers got to get him out of here before he actually does play for them again. He's injured. I get it, but the Steelers would do their homework and get him in here to pass a physical before they allowed any trade to go down. That's Adam Thielen from the Carolina Panthers. I mean, Thielen is a guy that comes in here. He's not going to go for 200 yards in a game. He's not going to be your superstar wide receiver. But the game where George Pickens is double teamed the entire game and catches 2 balls for 20 yards, and Thielen finishes with 10 receptions for 98 yards and a touchdown, that's when you look at Adam Thielen and say, that was a great move. That's why we wanted him, because that is it. On this list, he is hands down the most reliable name. The guy that when you need him, he is there. He's not going to take a ton of attention away from the defense. He is not going to be the guy that finishes leading the team in receiving yards week in and week out. But those times when defenses say George Pickens will not touch the football, which will happen, Adam Thielen is there to catch some footballs. He could play inside. He could play outside. He's a proven veteran. I mean, this dude, there's no questions with Adam Thielen. There are none. It's just, where's the ceiling? It's not that high, but the floor is pretty close to the ceiling. And that's okay with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a good wide receiver too. Number 3 is Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton comes in here. He adds big play potential. He's young, so maybe he's better. He's never had a good quarterback, so maybe he works better with a better quarterback in Russell Wilson and a better off. I mean, that's the other part of this, is you don't know what comes from guys who've only played on bad teams with bad players. Maybe Darius Slayton finally gets out of the Daniel Jones era, comes to Pittsburgh, plays with Russell Wilson, plays with Arthur Smith, plays with George Pickens there, because that's the other thing. He's never had another guy to take the attention away except for Malik Neighbors, who's a rookie and 8 games into his career. Maybe Darius Slayton comes to Pittsburgh and turns into a superstar. I think that's a real possibility. And his floor is high. He's got big play potential. He's a deep threat at all times, who could also be a crisp route runner. I just think he makes a lot of sense for the Steelers. He doesn't move the needle a ton, but he's got the most upside. That's what I look at when it says Adam Thielen, or Darius Slayton, excuse me. Is Darius Slayton might come in here and be boring, but he might come in here and be an absolute superstar. And that's a risk worth taking if the Giants do not kick themselves in the butt and try to hold his price tag way too high. Number 2 is Courtland Sutton. That is the easiest answer you could probably give. Courtland Sutton makes this team instantly better. He plays outside. He could be a deep threat. He could be a reliable short guy. It doesn't matter. Courtland Sutton makes this team instantly better. 10 touchdowns with Russell Wilson last season. What are we even talking about? I mean, this guy comes in here and works in a heartbeat. He works for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to get Courtland Sutton today. Courtland Sutton is the first name on this list that I am willing to slightly overpay for, because I would look at Courtland Sutton and say, if we got to give up a 3rd-round pick for Courtland Sutton, I'm okay with that, simply because Courtland Sutton makes us better without question. Without question, Courtland Sutton comes in here and makes this offense better. He fits the Steelers' offense very well. He works with Russell Wilson. He's definitely going to work with Arthur Smith. I mean, he's a hard-nosed, big-bodied wide receiver. Arthur Smith be smiling ear to ear when that guy walks in the door. I just feel like Courtland Sutton's worth going to get, if and no matter really what his price tag is, in reason. You know, you're not giving up a first-round pick, second-round pick for Courtland Sutton, but I'd give up a third-round pick for Courtland Sutton. And number one is a two-parter here. I don't know who's more available, but I would expect both get calls, and a lot of calls, over the next 24, 36 hours, something like that. That is Cooper Kupp and DK Metcalf. And I don't care what one you get as long as you get one of them. And both of them are worth paying. If you got to give up a second-round pick, you give up a second-round pick. If you got to figure out your salary cap and make some big splash cut, you figure out your salary cap and you make some big splash cut. You got to do whatever you got to do. But DK Metcalf and Cooper Kupp instantly make the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl contenders. They are the trade that has everybody talking. If one of these guys goes down and ends up in Pittsburgh, everybody is talking about, are the Pittsburgh Steelers real contenders now? Are the Pittsburgh Steelers the favorites to win the AFC North? Can they beat the Baltimore Ravens? Are they in the class of Lamar in them? Are they in the class of Josh Allen in them? I think both of these guys, I mean, through the ceiling, the potential is for both. And I would go get both of them. No questions asked. And I won't lie to you. I think Omar Khan's already on the phone with Seattle and already on the phone with Los Angeles. Jay Glazer said they called him a month ago. I bet you Omar woke whoever the GM in Seattle is up real early this morning saying, hey, pal, I know the clocks are backwards, but I'm still working on whatever time it was yesterday. We're moving. Let's talk. DK Metcalf and Cooper Kupp top that list. Mike Williams, Adam Thielen, Darius Slayton, Courtland Sutton, and the duo of Kupp and Metcalf. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously there's tiers to this, and the top two that you mentioned there is easily the top tier, and there's nobody touching them. I think Courtland Sutton comes close, but I still think that he's in that second tier. And then honestly, I would put Darius Slayton in that second tier with Courtland Sutton. Now, what they bring is very different, and we all saw what happened to Darius Slayton yesterday. He left the game with a concussion, so you have some injury issues going into this week. But at the same time, I think if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, you're just hoping to get somebody not for week 10 against the Commanders. Would it be great? Yes, it would be great, but you want somebody for those final handful of weeks. You want somebody for that litmus test on Christmas Day against the Kansas City Chiefs, and you want somebody in the postseason. So you're hoping that they can build up to them. But if they're injured right now, which Slayton's the only one that's really injured. I know Thielen didn't play yesterday, but I think we can all see the forest through the trees. He was held out because he practiced all week and then he didn't play. That reeks of, hey, we're going to trade you. We do not want you to get injured against the Saints on Sunday. So the injuries don't scare me, but I do think there are some tiers to this. And I think the lower the tier you get, the less of an impact, obviously, you're going to get going forward. I think if you bring in a Mike Williams, you're essentially just saying maybe this gamble will work out because the ones that we have so far haven't really exploded. Every other one of those names, I think, does raise the level and the bar for the Steelers offense to a certain extent.
I agree. I agree. It's at the end of the day, they will settle if they need to settle, but they will try not to settle, and they will use every minute that they have to try and not settle for a wide receiver trade.